Welcome to this eMentor 5-minute tips video on appraisals. So this here we'll be summarizing when is an appraisal required. So this is just a general guide to give you an idea to see if it's worth seeing if you can get an appraisal exception or when you'll probably need an appraisal. So these aren't hard and fast rules. It can depend on your lender. It can even depend on the specific underwriter at that lender that you're dealing with as well. And of course the specific property, the value and everything like that as well. So just as a bit of information when you're talking to clients, when you're trying to meet those expectations and trying to budget for them, and will an appraisal be required? Will an appraisal not be required? So first, when is an appraisal not needed, or there's a likeliness you'll be able to get this waived or have it signed off internally from the lender for a much smaller fee? If the file's insured, so if there's less than 20% down payment, and if it's an insured file, so if there's mortgage default insurance, you shouldn't need an appraisal in the majority of cases. Value under $1 million and or insurable as well. So if the value is under $1 million and or if it's in the insurable category, you're much less likely to need an appraisal as well. If there's low loan to value, so 65% or less of BC assessed, some lenders will look at the BC assessment, and if the value is lower than a certain percentage, will waive the appraisal even if the value of the property is higher. So TD is an example that has done this, but again, lenders tend to change their policies. It can depend on province, it can depend on underwriter, so make sure you check and are aware of which lenders and which underwriters let you do use which policies. If the lender has an internal valuation system, so some lenders have these systems where they will sign off on properties the values internally. So Scotiabank's an example, they'll charge $100 in their commitment if they can waive the appraisal based on the property. So just be aware of lenders that can do this and are more likely to do this, and you may be able to use those to save costs if you're quite tight on funds needed to close a file. And then standard property. So for example, if there are a lot of comparables for the property, if the value is very well known, and if, so let's say it's in an urban area, large urban area, let's say Toronto, Vancouver, it's a 1-bed condo, there's thousands of other properties similar, there's thousands of other comparable sales, it's in a highly populated area, or townhomes can fit into this category as well. So there's a lot of comparables. The value is very supported, and that makes a higher likeliness that the appraisal can be waived as well. And then if we move into appraisal will be required, so most likely needed. So uninsurable files, so 30-year amortization or the value over $1 million. Higher value properties have a much higher chance of needing an appraisal, just because they are more unique and there's less comparables. A large mortgage or exceptions granted. So if there's an increased risk from the lender, that they'll be more likely to want or need an appraisal. If the loan to value is high, so if you're pushing loan to value, let's say you're 80% loan to value, the property or the purchase price is $2 million, or just the value, the estimated value is $2 million, then the lender may want an appraisal just to confirm the value of the asset if they're right up against those loan to value ratios. A lender program used. So have you used any other lender programs? So kind of total net worth programs or anything like that. Some of these programs, because they are slightly outside of the traditional boxes, will require an appraisal just because they are slightly kind of higher risk programs to use. And then finally, is it an unusual property? So is it rural? Is there strange zoning? Is there anything strange about it, acreage or anything like that? Lenders are much more likely to request appraisals because they just want a full breakdown of what that property is. So I hope that gives a bit of information as well. Another thing that's key is this can be market dependent. So let's say it's a market where the value is less certain because there's been changes, especially in declining markets, or there's just not comparable sales for that property, then the lenders may want appraisals in that case as well. If in doubt, when you're setting expectations, always err on the side of caution. So always explain your appraisal will likely be required, but we'll try and get this waived rather than guaranteeing you can get the appraisal waived. It's always better to be more cautious and then be able to deliver some positive news than the other way around. So I hope that helps. If you have any comments or questions, then do leave them below. Thanks.